They're back. Happy Monday, folks. Give us a second here and we'll get started. Got to make sure we're 5 by 5 here, which we very well should be. We'll get into that in a second. Okay, we are 5 by 5. Here's the deal. First of all, whoa, wait a minute. Heads up. I'm riding dirty this morning, which means I have no cream. Whatever happens, happens. Second of all, this weekend, I paid a tech to come out here and rewire everything in terms of the internet, and now I can throw a can of food and hit the router. For those that are asking, I can't hardwire the iPhone into the router. I just don't know how. I don't even know if that's possible, but it is literally 5 feet away, so there should be zero buffering. If there's any sort of buffering, it is not on my end at this point. Good morning. They're back. The Tifas are back. We're going to talk about that this morning. Squeaky Gamer YT has the bragging rights. They were the first one in here this morning. And Tega Alexander, thank you for the mean bean. It is it's some sort of Amish blend. I think it's their version of a house blend. We have Amish communities here locally. Let's see who's in the house. I saw Paul's here. Kelly W., the Minted Maiden. Good morning, ma'am. Scotty Drake, Skid Kid, Prep Wolf, Militant Roots, Salty Gummer, love the name. Shorty is up in the house. Dawn is here. Thank you, moderators, for being here and for everything you do. Arkansas Living is in the house as well. American Trucker. So, Patricia, good morning, ma'am. So, quickly, did y'all hear about this before we get into it? We'll talk about it in a little bit, but it seems as though old Joe let off a little poot-poot when he was visiting with the royal family recently, and they went and they told their version of mainstream media across the pond after he came back, yeah, Joe broke wind, in our presence, and apparently it was loud and it stunk really bad. I couldn't believe it, but I did do some digging around, and in fact it did happen. So just mark that onto his legacy list, if you will. All right, so talking about the Biden administration this fine Monday, and this intel is linked down below for those that are brand new. All of the links are right down below the video, okay, including our backup channel, so on and so forth. The Biden administration is considering shutting down a pipeline in Michigan. For no rhyme, no reason. They really haven't given any reason as to why they would do this. All I know, son, is gasoline continues to get in price. This is just going to make it even worse. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe they want to make it worse, right? Biden's energy secretary yesterday, and we talked about this on Patreon, admits higher heating costs this winter. When she was directly asked, ballpark estimate, how much higher are we talking? She then pivoted. She dodged the question completely, and she pivoted over to the infrastructure deal that was just passed. So in other words, hey, you guys are getting ready to get shafted, but look what Joe just passed for you. Look what he's getting ready to sign. So we have no idea how much it's going up. Now, the United Kingdom has estimated, this has been a few weeks ago, they've estimated up to a 50% increase on heating costs, on gasoline, things like this winter and into spring, which is very important. And several folks here at The Nation have emailed, commented, and also on our social media, I think our Facebook, it was either Facebook or MeWe, they were posting pictures of people hoarding gas where they live. So that is coming. Gasoline, kerosene, propane are going to be the three big ones, I think, this winter. Get it while you can get it, because we're fastly approaching a time when you're not going to be able to get it, or it's going to be, $1 or $2 more expensive when you can find it, okay? So just understand that is coming. Again, the intel is down below for that. Let's talk about Tifa. Y'all know I'm talking about the ninjas, right? I was going to name it this morning, something to do with ninjas, and I said, nah, the prepping community will never find it if I do that, but we'll call them ninjas. They counter-protested yesterday in Boston. For those that did not see that, it should still be on mainstream media. So there was an original protest not by the Tifas, and the original protest was against mandates, which I would argue is tyranny. Personal opinion here, folks. So Tifa shows up to counter-protest this, and I kid you not, they have signs that are, tyranny will not be tolerated. All the while they are protesting for tyranny at this point. They pulled up, they had U-Haul trucks with stereos in the back. They're trying to drown out the speakers at this protest. They were carrying flags with the, let me see here, the hammer and the sickle flags. Y'all know what I'm talking about with that, right? Why wouldn't you carry a hammer and a sickle flag? They're doing so well as a nation right now. Who doesn't want to be there, right? But the protest turned violent. When Tifa did not get its way, they decided to start swinging. And it ended very poorly for the ones that tried to start swinging on the patriots that were there. There were a couple of arrests. They didn't say who, which tells me it's probably Antifa that got arrested. They're probably out of jail by now. Harris probably bailed them out. Yeah, Bad Wolf says no one ever accused Tifa of being smart. These are the dumbest people on the planet. I'm going to go ahead and say it. These are the dumbest people on the planet. They have somehow been convinced to protest against something they actually want. If these people don't want tyranny, they should be over with the patriots protesting, but they're not. They're protesting against free speech under the guise that it's tyranny. Free speech is not tyranny, folks. It's the opposite. But somewhere along the way, in between the indoctrination and the lack of knowledge when it comes to history, apparently, some of them probably still think the USSR is really a thing. Like it's really still there. I don't know. But never underestimate your enemy, wandering American. Yeah, but I don't think that these are the shock troops. They're not the real enemy. These are people that are just so dumb that the actual enemy is using them. They're playing them like a joystick, and then they're going to dispose of them. They're shock troops. The real enemy, globalist agenda that's trying to upend the United States of America. I tell you how stupid these people are, and I hate to be mean about it, but these people are so ignorant. They're like children, and I know this because now they are passing the whiskey shot off onto children. That's pretty much all I can say. You folks know what's going on with that. But now they're using Big Bird and Elmo to push the propaganda. I saw this weekend. I said, here we go. Useful idiots. That is correct, Adam. I don't know why Google flagged that. Thank you, moderators. They be flagging all kinds of stuff, but they are indeed useful idiots. Big Bird and Elmo are now pitching propaganda to 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds to tell them you want the whiskey shot. You want to save the planet, and this is the only way to do it. Hey, Kendra, how you doing, ma'am? Big Bird and Elmo, and you know what I should have done? I should have brought one of my son's hand puppets out here long enough to say, no, I'm good, son, but I didn't think about it. Yeah, F Big Bird. Honeybee has thoughts on Big Bird. I'll say this before we move on. When it comes to, we were talking about the Twix commercial last week with the woke witch, as I like to call her. And now you have the Sesame Street characters pushing your agenda. The whole point of this is, if you have to wear a mask while carrying out your agenda, you're probably on the wrong side of history. Just speaking from the past here for a second, if you have to hide your identity, you're either ashamed of what you're trying to do or you're really, really ignorant. One of the two. So the San Francisco Chronicle, this is a good one, y'all. The San Francisco Chronicle published an article because they're having crime in San Francisco, in case you haven't heard. San Francisco, and they are saying now that homeowners should tolerate burglaries because the people breaking into homes are just oppressed. They've been up against it since the day they were born, son. And if you're sitting there and you're watching the nightly news or whatever show you watch in the evenings, and someone kicks the door in or they bust the window out, don't do anything. Just sit on the couch and keep watching TV. and let these people take what they need to take because, again, they're oppressed. And if you call the police, you're a bigot at this point. How dare you? Rachel said, well, WTH. Yeah, this was an actual newspaper article. And this is so off the rails that some of the left mainstream media was calling them out, saying this is way over the line. This is ridiculous. And the San Francisco Chronicle stood their ground. They're like, what are you talking about? You know, this stuff is really happening. These people are being oppressed to the point where they have to break in and steal. It's the only choice they have. So if you're in San Francisco, you know, just let this stuff fly. Tasha says, I'd love to see them try. Well, they're going to try it in San Francisco, okay? They're not going to try it in most of the rest of the country. Bigger cities, maybe, especially when there's no concealed carry to be had, and extreme regulations on boomsticks. They're not going to try it anywhere else unless they're just loco. Broomstick time. Well, broomsticks on you, whatever you happen to have in your hand. Michelle, are we the only ones that haven't drank the Kool-Aid? Apparently. Ain't flying here, Tim says. Well, they're oppressed now. You have to understand. They've been treated differently since the day they were born. They come out of the womb and you owe them for this. So let them break into your house, according to the San Francisco Chronicle. And that was just such an outlandish story, I had to mention it, okay? Let's talk about our 3 preps this morning. Facts over feelings. There you go, Washbrain. So number 1, a manual can opener. We had one of these fail on us this weekend. Miss Nation's like, how could this thing break? It was one of the all-metal ones. I'm like, honey, everything breaks eventually. We had more here, but if you're stacking cans, have more than one can opener, okay? So it's definitely a prep to have several can openers. Number 2, a multi-tool like a Leatherman. I think Cricut makes a pretty good one as well. Whatever you can afford. Any multi-tool is better than nothing. And number 3, and I'm going to use this for deodorant, but I'm gonna look at the chat and I'm going to see what you folks would use this for. Cornstarch. Now, it's not my preferred deodorant. I'm saying during SHTF, it could definitely be used as deodorant. Cast iron skillets work really well. We talking about break-ins? Arkansas Living, how you join up with this Tifa stuff? Y'all got a roster or something? No, we're on the wrong list. They ain't never given us a spot on the Tifas, brother. I mean, you could buy a black mask, probably 75% off right now. The Halloween sales and stuff. But Forrest says, making gravy. But they ain't going to let us, you know, we're not first-round draft picks over there at this point. James, I'm oppressed, but I suck it up and deal with it. Most of us suck it up and deal with it. Toothpaste. That's a very good one, Brenda. That's awesome. Toothpaste. That's something that a lot of people don't think about during SHTF, be the oral hygiene. Not only the toothpaste, but I've had a couple of toothaches, folks. I ain't going to lie. And it's the worst pain. And I always think about that. You know, if the grid's down and it's Mad Max, do I really want to be pulling my own teeth here? Or do I want moonshine? That's why we have some of the clear here. Stop bleeding. Very good. Mama Jules. Knife sharpener. Up. I've just been informed we have over 1,000 people in the house here. Hold on. I'm prepared today. There we go. As long as it does not mess with the microphone here, son. I'll put the towel on the side here. Now we looking fancy. Hopefully that doesn't mess up the audio any. So I have found a way, I think. Y'all know the 30th agenda. You know what's coming. They're trying to get rid of real food and push us toward lab-created meats and insects and stuff. I found a way out of this. I do believe. I think we use the wokeness against them here. I say we start the Save the Crickets Foundation, because at the end of the day, I mean, let's face it, crickets are also oppressed. Nobody cares about crickets. People step on them. They just, they just, people are laughing. No, seriously, crickets have feelings too, don't they? And roaches. Do you think the roaches in New York City like the piling up trash on the side of the street? Homestead Homeboy has been a member of the coffee club for two months. Awesome. You go, son. I'm going. We are going. Thank you. We are going to save the crickets and all of the other insects because they also have feelings, and they are truly the ones that are oppressed. They were here before we were. Son, we stole their land when you get down to it. So somebody needs to do this. Y'all start a GoFundMe or something for the Save the Cricket Foundation, or another creator out there. Maybe you can come up with a bumper sticker to sell or something. Use the wokeness against them. Convince these woke idiots that crickets have feelings too. And you basically take their ammunition away for Agenda 30. So I got to get some thoughts on this. Save the insects. There you go, Sonia. Let's don't do save the crickets. Use the word insects. We cannot exclude any insects. We're all inclusive here at the nation. I want some thoughts on this. Biden's approval rating, 38%, which is really low. If I was playing SimCity and it was down to 38%, the game would just end at that point. Harris is actually at 28% approval. So I've got Save the Caterpillars. There you go. 28%. I don't know if I've ever seen 28% for anybody in the Oval Office, president or vice president. 38 is still too high, Kendra says. I agree. But this is the never Trumpers who hate Trump breaking away from Biden. They're not riding with Biden anymore is what I'm trying to tell you. And Harris, how can you possibly make the argument that you're going to install Harris when she's riding at 28%? These people are, it's a sinking ship. Homestead Homeboy, cricket lives matter. There you go. And roach lives. What are roaches? What's wrong with the roach, son? Caveman James is probably out here smoking a roach right now, if you want to know the truth somewhere. Tell them you're a vegan. Well, that's good, Tony, but our feelings and our wants are beneath those of insects at this point. That's the way we got to pitch it. Never roaches. They nasty. We'll see random Jen Lynn. She says they're nasty. Well, maybe they are nasty, but they have feelings. You know what I mean? And they're oppressed right now. So save the insects, by God. So here, check this out. Anybody in here from New Jersey? There was what about the bees? Yeah, I guess so. I guess we can include the bees as well. Anything that they're going to try and make us eat outside of actual food, save it. Save them. Campaign for them. Stand right next to the TIFAs and campaign for the crickets and the bees. Anybody in here from New Jersey? There was a Senate race last week, and a average Joe truck driver who just got tired of being taxed to death. He got tired of the senator that had been there, I think, since 2002 or 2003, somewhere around in there, and doing nothing. He ran for Senate and won. Initially, he won. A regular average Joe winning a Senate seat. That's really how this whole constitutional republic was set up, right? That's true representation. But it turns out now the Democrat, the incumbent, he is refusing to concede the race. Ballots continue to show up. What a shocker. Not only are ballots continuing to show up, these ballots are having babies. There are pregnant ballots walking around, giving birth to new ballots. Tens of thousands of ballots all over the place, just showing up randomly. This guy is not going to get a fair shake. I think we all know what's going on here. I can't say it outright, but we know what's going on. This poor man, BLM, Bugs Lives Matter. Wow. Cleon, I had not even considered that. Yeah, we know what's going on here. The ballot fairy has struck again, and this poor man, who really deserves to be a senator. We need to send people like, I mean, how more blue collar can you get than a truck driver? This dude would have went in there and he would have shaken things up. And then when people saw it happen, they would have started putting more average Joes and Janes into office. And they're just not going to let that happen. The establishment, not going to let it happen. Them ballots were stuck on a container ship. That's possible. That is very, very possible. Black olives matter. It all matters. Paul Jones, very good point. When the voting ends, it's over. And apparently this man had just spent a little over $100 on his campaign. And I would argue won the Senate race. But he doesn't have the budget because he's one of us. He doesn't have the budget to staff all of the voting venues and things to make sure everything's being done on the level. He's not backed by the Republican Party or anything, so he doesn't have a lot of money. And he's over here, and all kinds of stuff apparently is going on over here. You know what I mean? He can't keep up with it all, and it just sucks. It really does. So the scenario that I have for you folks this morning is interesting. So you bug out with someone else. This can be a best friend, a relative, a MAG member, whatever. You're bugging out with somebody else. It's Mad Max. It's got really bad, okay? The person is up. You know, they're watching while you sleep, which is always good. It's one of the reasons lone wolfing it would be extremely tough. And you wake up the next morning to find this person's gone. And some of the supplies are gone. Put a tie on, son. I got one on. It's just not on well. What do you do? When you wake up the next morning, this person's gone. Some of the supplies are gone. What do you do? Me personally, I'm going to find another location nearby so I can keep an eye on the camp, see if they return, see if they have an explanation. I'm going to wait about a day, and then I'm ghosting them. I'm leaving them out there wherever they're at. I'm going to give them about a day. Get what's left and keep going. Random Jen Lin. I thought maybe there were certain situations where they would have seen something and maybe led somebody away from camp. So there may be a reason for it. I don't want to ghost them like immediately, but I don't want to be sitting at camp if they come back with other people, you know, is the thing. Relocate, then inventory. That's very good, Stephen. Cut your loss and move on. What Aaron say here. Try to gather some more and don't ever let them back. Without a very good reason, they're not coming back. Tasha says, feel betrayed for a moment and then move on. Michelle, better move camp. So apparently everybody has the same idea there. Don't stick around. The poll this morning, how much chaos will Tifa cause during the dark winter this winter? 32% say a lot. 49% say it'll be hit and miss. Maybe they don't like the cold or something. And 20% say none. They'll be starving to death at this point. I think they seem to come and go, don't they? You'll have Tifa there for a while, and then they drop out of the, you know, they just drop out of the agenda for a while, and then they come back. They come back at the most convenient times, you know? That's one of the reasons I think that they are being led around by somebody more important than they are. Not the person with the bullhorn at the protest saying, you do this, you do this. They're getting their marching orders from somebody else. I think they're paid actors. Wash. Somebody would have to have a lot of money. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you're right, actually. But somebody would have to have an insane amount of money to pull that off. And as we've seen in the past, pallets of bricks and things have been waiting on them when they've gotten there. They normally, for those that don't know, they normally have supplies there, medical supplies, drinking water and stuff. They keep that at the rear of their huge protests. And they also have medical personnel that are usually at the rear of the protest. So it's definitely, I believe so, Bill, it's definitely organized. Backcountry's in the house. What's up, brother? Good morning, all. Let's go, Brandon. What are your thoughts, man? You know a lot about this. What do you think we can expect from the Tifas this winter? You think they're going to cause a lot of chaos? Are they coming for your stuff? Vaughn, are they coming for your stuff, man? Let's see here. Prepper Nation for President 2024. American Trucker, thank you, but no. I'd vote for one of you folks in a heartbeat, but I don't want the job. You'd have to fumigate the place after Joe and Harris has been there. Well, Vaughn, I see that we should get together and do something about it. They did yesterday. There was some violence break out yesterday. Where was it again? Oh, man, I don't even remember now. Boston. And a couple of them apparently got beat down. Then they got arrested. But like I was saying, they're probably out by now. Finally, this winter and into spring, they are estimating, this doesn't affect me, I don't like either one, but y'all might. Oreo cookies and Sour Patch Kids are going up 7% in price. So any fans of Oreo cookies or Sour Patch Kids in here? Tasha, that's fair. Personally, I think both sides have their crazies. They definitely do. There are a very small percentage of the prepping community is just way off, too far off the deep end for me. You know, I'll get on to a lot of conspiracy theories, and I'll entertain them as long as it's possible, you know. But some of the stuff that's being thrown out here is not even possible. And DRP, if we are buffering, I can assure you at this point it is not me. Oreos, KC, well, you better buy them now because they're getting ready to go up. Oreos, Janice, yeah. Pumpkin Oreos, wine sipper. I didn't even know that was a thing. I like the pumpkin stuff, and I did not even know that was a thing. McDonald's is upping their prices 6%. Sword cod, I could care less. I don't eat there. It's nasty. It really is. I do know shrinkflation is a thing. We've noticed this with the kid snacks and stuff because they don't eat school lunch. It's very rare when they eat school lunch, especially the past couple of years. And Militant Roots, what does Roach milk taste like? I do not know, and I will never know because I ain't drinking it. Powdered milk or milk is all I'm drinking. But yeah, shrinkflation, we've noticed the prices have went up, but the packaging has gotten way smaller on a lot of items. Not just kids' lunches, but kids' lunches in particular. Ever tried to milk a roach, Randy? No, I cannot say that I have. Speaking of the crazies here in the prepping community. Yeah, Kit says roach milk. Ooh, it's actually a thing. They are going to push this stuff. They are, you know, I wasn't just trying to be funny with the crickets and the roaches and stuff. They are transitioning to this. You know, right now they're doing the Impossible Meats and the Impossible Whopper. And now I think McDonald's is introducing, I don't know if it's all of them yet, but they're introducing fake chicken nuggets, like the Impossible Meat or whatever. But yeah, insects are the future. That is part of the agenda, and I want no part of it. The McPlant, thank you. I've forgotten about that, Sharon, and I'll be passing on that as well. I will not eat bugs. Then you better stack food loose, and of course you better be able to produce your own food at some point. Reckless Reese making a good point. The chicken nuggets were already fake. I watched a video, this has been several years ago, how they make those chicken nuggets, and it's nasty. You know, it shows like I don't know, it's almost like, y'all know what chipboard is. They make these nuggets, it's almost like chipboard with chicken, and then they come out on this conveyor belt, and they have these sprayers spraying that breading or whatever on them. I mean, they are nasty. And that's the real chicken nuggets. The fake ones got to be even worse than that. Clinton, Campbell Soup seems it has doubled in price. I have not checked it in the past couple of weeks. Thank you for that. Anybody else noticing prices like going up? I've noticed milk, of course, gasoline, stuff like that in our area. Beef went up quite a bit. Now it's kind of holding steady. It hasn't went up in the past couple of weeks, according to my wife. Eden's Garden, hello. How you doing, ma'am? I mean, are there, everybody's saying yes. Is there specific items that you've noticed, though? Campbell's soup. Eggs, okay, Teresa. Canned soups. Sour Patch Kids. Yeah, they're coming for the Sour Patch Kids. American Trucker. I think they come in bags, right? My kids eat them. I don't. They're probably going to shrink the bags down and jack the price up like everything else. Sugar. Okay, tomorrow. I've got a bunch of sugar here. I haven't checked that in a while. Dipping my back. What's going on here, Vaughn? Hold on. Chat's flying. And slow chat's on. He says, dipping my super expensive Oreos in a tall glass of roach milk. Yeah, I'll pass on that, man. I've seen you drinking stuff over there before. I ain't never seen you drinking roach milk, though. Bacon, yes. Tasha, is it still going up? Any kind of pork here is outrageous right now. And I've noticed, which means it's pretty bad because normally I don't. The produce looks crappy. The produce we have here looks bad. Not only has it went up in price, but I mean, it just looks diseased or something. And if you've ever been through this area of the South, we have produce everywhere. Like produce stands, we have fruit stands, farmers markets. So for the produce to look crappy here is not a good sign. I see you, Forrest. Sheila, Oreo eaters need to wean off that addiction fast. Stop eating your Oreos, she's saying, before it's too late. Before we get into Oreo Gate. The tomatoes are soft and old here. They are, Jesse Lynn. We bought some bananas yesterday. And these things are horrible looking. Almost mutated. And we got the best ones they had, you know. Produce goes bad quicker. It does, Dawn. Raisin Bran is up 30 cents. Laura, my doctor tells me I need to be eating that kind of stuff. But I ain't got around to it yet. I guess I need to jump on that. Banana bread. I like banana bread. Gavin, howdy. How you doing? Tim, pork is cheap here. All we eat is pork, duck, and deer. Thank you for being here, Stuart. So, yeah, speaking of deer, I saw a couple of illegals. I call them illegals right now. Out back yesterday with the whitetails swinging, but they were does. So, you know. They go around, they'll eat right now they're eating the bottoms of some of the trees and stuff, which is fine. I mean, it's going to fall anyway. How do you store Oreos for long term? Need suggestions would be nice. Chris, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess you could vacuum seal them and make them go a little while longer. But as far as how long, I don't know. I'm not a big Oreo eater. Yeah, vacuum seal them. Rob Lever says vacuum seal them. Rob Lever, do you have any idea how long they would last at that point? Donna Jones is not playing. She says Mylar bags for Oreos. I will Mylar some things, but I ain't Mylar and Oreos. I can live without those. I don't Mylar cereal because, and you can, but my theory is this. Cereal is one of those things that you just mow through quickly. You know what I mean? Like it takes up a lot of space and you're going to use a lot at one sitting. Whereas beans and rice will really fill you up with a small amount. So I normally just stick to those two. I think we have some oats also. 5 years in jars with O2 absorbers. There's some people in here serious about some Oreos. I had no idea. That would have been a great poll, you know, Oreos or Sour Patch Kids. Which one? Or none. Yeah, Kayla, that's it. Cereal is empty calories. Doesn't fill you up for very long at least. There are just a lot of more important things that I'll Mylar. But I know some people do it, and that's fine, you know. God's country, the Chinese military has built a full-scale American aircraft carrier mock-up and other U.S. warships in a remote desert. Personally, I think the Chinese are readying for war. I don't think they're readying for an invasion here of the United States. I think they're going in on Taiwan. Taiwan produces a lot of the microchips, most of them worldwide. They don't want to lose that, okay, because they're into technology now. They're trying to secure the microchips. The U.S. knows it. The U.S., I believe, knows China is going in at some point. And we were talking about China kind of warning its citizens and things a few days ago that there's going to be a shortage of food this winter, a drastic shortage. And I think what China is doing is they are setting X amount aside for the troops, because I think they know they're going in. So they're probably, you know, should the U.S. respond, it's going to be naval, at least to start with, and that's probably what is coming. They probably understand that, and they're probably readying for it. They've been drilling with Russia as well. And you could see, you know, somewhere over there in Russia actually go into a smaller country at the same time China decides to go into Taiwan. Because then, as an ally of both, what do? You can't support two war efforts. You know what I mean? But this is just me overthinking it and all that. I think either way here in the United States, whether it's because of a war effort or PDB and Joe's ignorance and the diversity hire, I think we're going to be out of a lot of stuff. Truth seekers, exactly. Yes, Russia just positioned troops again. So if China goes in, if they go into Taiwan and the world's looking this way, now Russia has a free pass to do whatever they want to do. And they're going to get very little resistance. Washbrain, I don't disagree. Military right now is so weak. War is the last thing we need. And they're kicking patriots out of the military over these mandates. And these are people that have been there for, in many cases, a lot of years. And they have a lot of training. But the good news is every patriot that they kick out of the military adds to our ranks here as patriots, because they're pissed off, they're trained. And what are they going to do? They're going to, you know, start stacking. They're getting ready for what's coming once they become a civilian again. When they leave the military, it's not like they forget all the training. They still have it. They're going to have, I would argue, they're going to have boomsticks and things once they become a civilian, and they're one of us at that point. So it's good and bad. I did white collar prepping. Did you see the whole woke Navy ship? I did. I forget what they called the ship, guys, but they did it. I mean, it was horrible. You know, I would hate to be a sailor on that ship. I would be embarrassed. It had something to do with the alphabet community. And they christened the ship and everything. Yeah. Yeah, Sonia, unfortunately, this is real. You know, they're so worried about wokeness and political correctness at this point. The military's went off the rails. Jennifer Cruz, well, we have to understand, ma'am, what you hear coming out of China is not going to be the entire truth. Some of it sometimes will be true. Some of it is misdirection and propaganda. If they're being honest, for China to admit to its people, some of y'all about to die and starve to death, that tells me bad things are headed to China. But there's really no reason for it. They've been struggling with food for a while. But for it to all of a sudden be alarming in China, the food's going somewhere, you know, and it could definitely be going to a war effort. They really don't care about their people, you know, so for them to admit it outright is not a good sign, or it's misdirection. Sin City Gym, in the Navy you can sail the 7 seas. Yes, I just don't want to do it on that ship. I gotta be honest. Robert, the Ukraine militia should not be underestimated. Nobody should be underestimated. But if they get any kind of help, if we see an invasion over there after Taiwan, it's going to be supplies only. I don't think you're going to see boots on the ground or anything. Especially from the U.S., they would be tied up. China is a huge opponent for the U.S. to take on, especially in the shape we're in right now, our military. We would have our hands completely full. There's no way we could head over toward Russia and start helping. Rainbow Warrior, Pat. I thought that was Jeff Gordon. Showing my age there a little bit. That is a good question. I don't know. Danny says, are they going to fly the rainbow flag? I have no idea. I skimmed the article, laughed, and then moved on, you know. To me, it's nonsensical to be worrying about something like that when you're putting a warship into use. You know, you should be thinking about war, combat. What can this ship do? Are the people on here prepared, or are they diversified? Robert, Beaverines. Of course. There's always got to be somebody, right? The tie can only get you so far, but then we get into Beaverine territory. Rex, last I heard there was an alliance of countries willing to help protect Taiwan. In theory, there is. But if you go back to the Second World War, there were a lot of countries that, in theory, were ready to go to war with Nazi Germany, okay? And they declared war on Germany at a certain point, but they didn't really do anything for a while because the nations were sick of war. They had just gotten over World War I. Their economies were already trashed. You know, they declared war in name only for a while, and that's probably what we would see with Taiwan. I think the U.S. might respond, and the United Kingdom might respond to some degree, but I mean, China, it would be overpowering. And they know it, you know. They know they got us over the barrel right now. I mean, honestly, folks, y'all are here. History, thanks, John. Y'all are here in America, most of you. Look at our country right now. Do you think we are galvanized? Do you think we are ready as a people to support a war effort? Do you think all the citizens are going to agree and say, yes, we should go to war? Do you think our economy can withstand what I think would be a very long war with China? Do we have the resources right now? Do we have the gas and the petrol? Do we have all of that? Do we have enough food to support troops going over there? Because war leads to rationing, and we're already seeing some rationing here in the United States. It's a stretch, okay? It's a conspiracy, if you will. But I think that we've been hurt purposely by China. And I think our economy has been sacked on purpose so they can go into Taiwan, and we really can't do a whole lot about it. There's no way that we can go to war and win that war. Ivan, yes, I agree. I think if it comes here to our backyards, you know, if they were to come in here to the United States, totally different ball game. We're on our own ground. There are a lot of boomsticks, behind every blade of grass, right? There are a lot of Second Amendment folks here. We could give them a run for their money here. But halfway around the world, trying to support that supply line, I don't think it's winnable. It would just be like a vacuum sucking up resources and supplies that we really don't have anyway. And then we have, Potato in office, and he would just be printing more money, and it would cause hyperinflation here during a wartime. Golden Wolf, I see that. Google flagged it. I see it, and I agree. Moderators just took care of that for you. Thank you. Washington, D.C. is a Trojan horse. It is, wine sipper, and the thing we were talking about with the guy in New Jersey, the truck driver, when our country was set up, people that go, into Congress, they're supposed to be people like us that represent the people and what's best for the actual people that pay taxes. And the problem with D.C., and it's been a problem for a very long time, I can't blame Biden for this, they're not. They're millionaires, they're elites, they're in the back pockets of corporate America and and Big Pharma. I'm going to get flagged for saying that, but it's the truth. And, they're in the pockets of these big companies, and they don't represent us. And this is why the man that I would argue won a Senate seat in New Jersey is probably not going to be in the Senate because of this. They'll never allow that to happen, because that's the one thing they fear, the people actually having a voice, you know, over our own lives. Google is watching for us. They're always watching. You know what I mean? They probably got a pair of binoculars looking through your window right now, wherever you're at. Holy crap, I made a live chat, Matt says. Well, welcome. Yeah, that's another problem. First shot. Half our citizens would support China. This is why we see Tifa right now with the hammer and sickle. They're all about communism. They're idiots. They've been led to believe that communism is this beautiful concept when it's indeed not. And they would actually back the Chinese over the United States. Antifa is here to cause a lot of drama and a lot of confusion. That's their only job. If communists ever overtake this country, they'll get rid of Antifa first thing, because they're so dumb. You know, they can only control them to a degree, and then they become a liability. Divide and conquer. Exactly, Curtis. Curtis knows what's going on. William Burton, not half, more like 30% would support China. It may only be 30%. I don't know the actual number, but I think that a lot of our folks in Congress would support China, and that's the biggest problem. A lot of our lawmakers already support socialism or even communism. Lori, I made it. I made it too, and I'm riding dirty. Antifa and a couple million illegals. Ty Stone 48. Yeah. They're here to change the demographics. They're here to change the voting. And they're here to cause mass confusion and to collapse what resources we have down on the border states. Texas, super strong economy at one point in time. Best way to collapse it, just flood it. Just flood Texas. And that's what's happening right now. You know, Bill, China will take them all out. If China is actually behind this, again, that's a conspiracy theory. Yeah, they ain't going to keep them around long. Useful idiots, you know, they ain't got no staying power. They don't want. We'll be going to camps alongside these mass ninjas or whatever they are. Jen Boyles. Stop saying riding dirty. I almost spit my coffee out. I have no creamer in my coffee this morning. Therefore, I am riding dirty, man. Texas will freeze again this year. I hope not Howling Dog Ranch, but I think a lot of places are going to freeze this year. I think they know it's coming, that the whole dark winter or whatever you want to call it. I think they know there's not enough gasoline. Kerosene's something a lot of people aren't talking about, but people do depend on it. Coal and propane, I mean, this stuff is in short supply. And if we have a cold winter, there are going to be some rolling blackouts at some point. They're going to start shutting it off. Jay, I can't even make comments on videos anymore. It auto deletes after 10 seconds. I'm sorry. It's nobody here doing it. Unfortunately, I have no control over that. I do apologize. God's country, I have my wood ready for burning. There you go. Until Gates outlaws it. Or Greta Thunberg. How dare you burn wood? But yeah, unfortunately, the stuff that Google does, they do. You know, unless I get a job there and work my way up into management, I can't change it. I wish I could. People always say, you know, why don't you move over onto Rumble or BitChute? And I'm like, dude, we're already over there. And there's a crowd of 300 or 400 people. So nobody else has made the jump. You know, we did try to do that. Yeah, Prepper Trucking. I'm going to send you an email, John. I'll look for it. I'll check it. It'd probably be 30 minutes or so after the stream. Do you have moderators? Absolutely, kicking like a chicken. If you see a blue wrench, they are a moderator. And there's Matt. Matt's one of your friendly moderators here at the Nation. They don't put up with an insane amount of cursing because we have kids that watch the show and watch the chat, believe it or not, and no racism. Right here, son, there's Nana, there's Mames. Can you do live on Rumble? I think Reckless. I've never tried it before. Again, I mean, the crowd over there, you know, who would be tuning in at this point? Riding dirty is specifically a felony, Soul Prepper. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Is it really a felony, riding dirty? Can you be accused in court, in a court of law, for riding dirty? Charlie B just throwing a random Blue Ranch out. Twitch is good. I have a Twitch account because, well, I used to play online games once every 6 months with Caveman James, but he ain't been on in about a year. We follow you there. Only if they're trying to catch you riding dirty. I don't even know what it really means. I just thought it was funny with black coffee. Hopefully it's nothing, you know, not a serious felony, because then I have to change it. Nana's eye gets twitchy with all these Google holds. What are you smoking over here, Nana? That might be causing the eye twitch. So many things are coming to a head, Ink Scars. Perfect comment, because so many things are coming to a head this winter. This winter, when it's very cold, that is the time you would want to execute a lot of this agenda stuff. Because people, when they're sitting in their homes and they have no electricity and they really have not prepped, they don't have food, they don't have medicine, they're more willing to comply at that point. That's my argument, at least. And so, yeah, it's coming to a head this winter, no doubt. JRC Homestead, got my Mr. Heater and buying more propane. That is awesome. Somebody asked, I think it was on Saturday night during Shotgun, if you can use those indoors. You can, folks. You want to make sure they have an O2 sensor on them. Most of the models do have an O2 sensor, which is like a safety measure that lets you know. John, can you explain a decoder one day? I seen that on Saturday. I mean, I'm not outside, but a decoder hole is basically a bigger hole and a smaller hole, and then you tunnel it. You know, you connect the two holes underground, and the fire actually is underground. And this causes it to burn hotter. The flames are hotter, and in doing so, you have less smoke, okay? And so you can cook on these things. These are really good if you're trying to avoid being tracked or something in the woods, because it doesn't put off a lot of smoke and there's no flame above ground. So you can build these things at night. You might get an orange glow, but they're not able to pinpoint exactly where you're at. They are, I think Saturday I called them labor intensive. So if you've got a foldable saw, you can do it. It's going to take a few minutes. Some people will build them little bitty, you know, and other people will do it like the size of a 5-gallon bucket lid or something. If you're doing one of the bigger ones, it is going to take you a little while. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's like an underground rocket stove. There you go, Brian, exactly. And another, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of them, but they have their purpose. Again, if you're trying not to be found, and then when you're done, you can actually fill the hole back in. If you know what you're doing, you can kind of disguise it a little bit to where you can't be tracked. Unless, you know, if somebody's really good at tracking, they're still going to find it. But your average Tifa with the ninja mask on, they ain't never going to find you using one of those. They'll die from exposure out there looking for you before they ever find you. Reckless, yeah, if you have your own property, that's something you can work on. You can build one just in case for sure. OFC, it's cold, man. Right now, it's, I don't know, high 30s, maybe 40 degrees right now. Stacking wood here today. Jonelle, I think is, hopefully that's right. Nothing wrong with wood. That's my favorite source of heat. Two things though. Number one, my daughter, she does struggle sometimes with bronchitis. And number two, it gets so freaking hot at the bug out when we got a fire going that you just have to. It's weird. People that have never used a wood stove don't understand, but sometimes it gets so hot you have to open all the windows or you have to go outside for a few minutes because otherwise it feels like you're inside of a furnace. That's what she said. Ink scars. Oh boy. B. Deering, River Rat. I can't wrap my head around how anybody could do this to people. Thermal imaging will find you, son. Plays a lot. It depends. If you know what you're doing, you can actually hide from that as well. You can use the Mylar blankets. You can camouflage them, and they're not going to find you. Again, if you know what you're doing. If somebody, you know, for example, if somebody's an expert, you know, they were an Army Ranger for 20 years and they have thermal imaging, yeah, eventually you're going to be found. There ain't no doubt about that. I'm not trying to discredit those folks. But how many of those folks are going to be out in the woods looking for you during an SHTF? You know, mostly what you're going to see out there are people that are half-starved or people with a blue helmet on their head that don't want to be in the United States to begin with. And so I'll take my chances on both of those. Mylar, any Mylar will cut it down. You know, the thermal and stuff like that. It's not going to completely ghost it. I've seen people that have made suits and things, or they've tried to make suits that you can wear. But I mean, yeah, drones will be looking, exactly. Drones will be looking. You want to make sure you're covered overhead. And again, you can use Mylar and things like that. It's fairly cheap to do it that way, but you got to spend some time doing it. Another thing you can do with the thermal and the infrared is you can just confuse it. You can throw, if you know somebody's coming and they've got that, you know, that loadout or whatever, and you have numbers, for example, you can throw down, you know, light a bunch of chem lights and throw them down everywhere. You know what I mean? Imagine somebody coming up over the hill with a rifle and all of a sudden they've got 50 hits and they don't know what's what. You know what I mean? There are things that you can do. Tinfoil umbrella. Well, I mean, whatever works, you know. Thank you very much, Jennifer Cruz. Mylar won't stop my dog. Get in a hole and stay there. For a while, see Albert, but nobody wants to be in a hole forever. You got to fight back at some point. That's why I wear a tinfoil hat, Charlie B. I've seen those at, God, I think it was Spencer's or something, when we were looking for Halloween stuff, Halloween costumes. They sell the tinfoil hats in there. I guess it's a joke. Pre-made, ready to go. Come in a box. Outlaw Farms, 100%. Better learn skills like the Great Depression and the Wild West. The people that lived through the Great Depression figured out how to survive because they had no choice. And that information is still out there. You can find some online, but you can also pick up books on the Great Depression. And you find out what people did in order to survive. There was a huge community atmosphere during the Great Depression. People came together, believe it or not. A lot of people came together and they just shared stuff in order to get by. I mean, down to like birthday parties and stuff. You know, they would have 5 or 6 kids' birthday parties at one time just to save on money and stuff. Eat your weeds, Timothy. Make sure they're edible, okay? Don't go eating everything, man. All right, does anybody have anything else? We're hitting the hour mark. I got to go before my moderators kill me here, son. The Lost Ways are great info books. Thank you, Jim. I will look for those online. If I can find them, I may link them sometime this week. Use camo tarps. Let's see here. Truthful Troll. We'll answer that before we go. Beaverines, Charlie. Prepper Nation. When should a person make the choice to join a militia? Seems like the militias are going to be the better bet. The militias are a long-term solution. You got to be around people that you trust. They got to be able to trust you. That takes a while, I think, to build up. But yeah, there's strength in numbers. If you have a militia in your area, and you know this, a lot of times it's hard to find the militias, or it's hard to be recruited in, or whatever, or even a mag, because of the trust issue. They don't want new people coming in because they don't know anything about the new person. And at the same time, you don't want to trust all of your preps to a group of people that you know nothing about. So trust is the biggest issue. But if you can get in with one, I would highly encourage it, because long term, you're going to stand up a lot better against, say, the blue helmets than you would on your own. So that's just my opinion. But be very cautious when signing up for anything like that. Yeah, absolutely. No problem. Thank y'all for being here this morning. We will be live again tomorrow morning at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The lobby gets set up when it gets set up. Some people say it's been happening earlier. Honestly, I take my kids to school in the morning, so the moment I come back, I set the lobby up. Sometimes it's a little later. So traffic. It just depends. Do I get behind a tractor or not coming home? But anyway, thank y'all very much for being here, and y'all have a blessed day, okay?